Pro-Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal, Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine, members of the UWI St Augustine Campus Council, specially invited guests, members of the regional and local media. Good morning and welcome to the annual meeting of the UWI St Augustine Campus Council. My name is Robert Riley, a chair of the UWI St Augustine Campus Council. I look forward to contributing to the advancing of the strategic objectives of this esteemed institution and supporting its continued success. My job is to moderate today's proceedings, so let us now turn our attention to the matters that are vital to the future of the institution. As a proud alumnus of the UWI St Augustine Campus, it is my privilege to serve as its chairman of the Campus Council and to witness firsthand the remarkable progress of our campus. This year, as we celebrate a milestone 65th anniversary under the theme Beyond the 65, from the Caribbean for the world, we honor our deep Caribbean roots while reaffirming our commitment to addressing global challenges. The annual report titled UWI MADE, Innovating for Tomorrow captures the resilience, ingenuity, and commitment to excellence that define the St Augustine campus. Over the past year, the campus has intensified its focus on research, commercialization, entrepreneurship, and dynamic industry collaboration. Advancements in areas such as energy transition, climate resilience, digital transformation, and food security demonstrate how academic expertise is effectively tackling real-world problems and positioning us as a key partner in national and regional development. Building on this momentum requires strong partnerships between academia, industry, government, and alumni. By uniting our efforts, we will accelerate innovation, expand opportunities for students and faculty, and ensure that the knowledge generated at UWI makes a lasting impact across the Caribbean and beyond. Continued investment in research, infrastructure, and talent development will be essential in sustaining such trajectory. At the heart of the success lies the exceptional dedication of faculty, staff, and students. Their commitment to excellence, curiosity, and problem solving continues to drive positive change. As the UWI looks ahead, the focus remains on equipping graduates with the skills and mindset needed to lead, innovate, and build a more resilient future. Council members are a fundamental aspect of this accountability of the UWI. As Council Chair, my role, therefore, is to preside over today's meetings in accordance with the university's statutes and ordinances. This morning, we'll be given an account of the performance of the St Augustine campus over the 23-24 academic year. Professor Antoine will shortly present the annual report, following which Vice Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles will deliver a statement to the Campus Council, and we are pleased to have him live with us. Campus Registrar Dr. Dawn Marie Defoe-Gill serves in the capacity of the Secretary to guide the meeting's proceedings. Thank you I now invite Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine to address you. Professor.
Thank you to our new chair, who is not only a St. Augustine alumnus, but Vice Chancellor. You'll be pleased to know that he's a UWI citizen because also a graduate of the Campus campus.
Correct.
So we are very happy and honored to have him. I also want to say a special good morning to all of the members of our council who are here with us. And I am very, very pleased that this year, after a little sojourn, COVID interrupted things a bit, we now have back with us in person our Vice Chancellor, the distinguished Sir Hilary Beckles. So we are really, really happy, and we welcome you specially this morning. And I would also say good morning to our PS Education from the Ministry of Education and her team, Ms. Valder and Ms. Sharma, who's always very diligent, always attending our meetings, and our members of our campus management team who are all here with us. But forgive me if I say a special good morning to our hardworking deans, because it's really their day. They'll be showing off all of what we've been doing for the past year. And our new guild president as well is with us. All of my colleagues, members of the media, everyone, good morning. Yes, we're supposed to have some. Here it is. Okay, so there's our theme, and this is our mission. So our theme this morning, you heard the UWI MADE, leveraging our strengths for sustainable future. And this is the university's mission and core values. I think most of us are familiar now with it. And what we have done at the St. Augustine Campus is to ensure that our strategic objectives fit neatly and advance the UWI's strategic objectives and core missions. So our UWI MADE is the term we've coined, and we are looking at growth and sustainability. We are fully aligned with the UWI's revenue revolution. But this year, the year under review, last year, in fact, what we have done is to move forward from the pure planning stage. We spent a long time planning, putting our goals up front, and we are now in the implementation stage for most of our products and projects, and we are seeing already some tangible outcomes. So I've divided the key focus areas into 4. One is translating our research into entrepreneurship, whether it be scientific research, whether it be in the arts or the social sciences. This is what we have been aiming to do and already seeing some important gains. Another big one for us is fostering employee engagement. A third is advancing the green agenda. And the fourth is strengthening stakeholder relationships. And we believe, in terms of implementation, that it's not just the plan, and we have good plans, but it's the people who bring it to life. And I really want to start my presentation as the principal to say how proud I am of my entire staff at all levels, who have really been enthusiastic and embraced our strategic goals, who have embodied volunteerism, because we have several committees on the campus, people coming forward, whether it's the disaster relief, whether it's to look at the curriculum, people are volunteering, even our sports day, we have volunteers. We have several persons. The latest one is one of our heads came forward to say, we want to reduce the bureaucracy on the campus. So we created a committee, and we really embrace that. We have seen a high-level enthusiasm in terms of our entrepreneurship committee, the CIC, ready responses to the national and regional challenges that we face. And so we have launched this umbrella brand, UWI MADE, and some of the big projects like UWI Fine Cocoa, the lovely chocolate, there's a display right outside the door. When you go, you'll see some of our products. The UWI Seeded Limited, which would be the seed and products, can't eat those. And the faculty initiatives, which are several, all of them embody this notion of UWI MADE, and of course with pride and innovation, because we believe innovation without application is wasted potential. And so we have intensified our efforts in the last year to move from concept to commerce. And we continue to focus, of course, on the revenue revolution, but also in meeting the meaningful needs and interests of our societies. So here's a lovely picture of UWI Seeded Limited, which is in full swing. There's our primer base, our roofing compound, our Premier 2 top coat. These are just 3 of the products. Quite revolutionary asphalt-based sealants, especially made for tropical climates, from the lab to the shelf. And we actually believe that this is the top product right now in the region. And we have seen huge increases in demand, so much so that we've already started to consider a larger factory. We've also used it not just to sell on the market and to repair lots of roofs, including regionally already. We've gone regional already, but we've also ensured that we are cost effective on the campus by cutting down our maintenance costs by doing some of the repairs ourselves using these products, repairing our roofs and so on. And we last year, July, August, in time for the new school year, we did a lovely project for the Ministry of Education where pro bono, we fixed one of the schools using these products, the roof. Eastern Primary School, because we know the problem of maintenance in our nation's school. So this is something that we are very proud of, and we continue to grow this important. Here we have the inventors sitting here, standing. The 2 ends there, those are our 2 inventors, Nizam Mohammed and Dr. Liebert Grayson. Incidentally, Nizam is not an academic. He's a technical person, was a lab technician, engineer, so that's why I said all categories of staff, they are involved in moving us forward. And we have there an AA with him standing proudly before the shipment just about to go to Antigua. And we have Julian Henry there, who's now heading our YA department, who helps us with entrepreneurship. So we moved in the past year, from being a shelf company. We had a company that was not yet operationalized, and we are now fully operational. And I also want to thank another group that 2 other groups that we often forget. That is the legal department, and we have Kami Ramcharan and the team here. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, and marketing and communications. And of course, who doesn't know about UWI Fine Cocoa Limited and the lovely chocolate? But it's not just chocolate, it's the nibs, it's the liquors, it's a whole host of byproducts developed by our world-renowned, #1 in the world, Cocoa Research Center. And again, we are in the process of scaling up. It's no longer planning. We are implementing. We have completed the new factory. That's a picture of it there ahead of time. And we continue to not just sell chocolate now and eat the lovely chocolate, but what we are also doing, and this is to assist the nation, is to try to rehabilitate the cocoa industry. Years ago, we used to produce over 3,000 tons of cocoa. There's even a cocoa estate when you leave the campus, still lovely cocoa trees. And with oil, and we are thankful for the oil, sure, but what happened, of course, industries like those declined. So now we just produce a little over 600. So our scientists, the Cocoa Research Center, they are working with the farmers. We have some industry persons on board as well, helping us to rehabilitate it, just as we revolutionized the chocolate industry some years ago through the Cocoa Research Center. Practically every chocolatier in the region, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, would have been trained by our staff at the Cocoa Research Center. Here you see some pictures of the chocolate. And just to mention, too, that this is also a scientific center, so we are doing DNA testing, scientific upgrades, etc. Our only wait before we launch formally, with cutting of the ribbon, would have been the various trade licenses that, of course, we wait on governments for those, but everything else is in place. This is another exciting product, Biophyte, eco-friendly pesticide and plant growth stimulant, which will help protect your plants from diseases, improve soil health. Very important one to us, and this is at probably the more infant stages in terms of the commercial phase, but nevertheless already packaged, already being exhibited, etc. And then one of the things I like about this too is the multidisciplinary work that's happening on the campus. Because we have the Faculty of Agriculture, the only Faculty of Agriculture, some of the products, we benefit from the engineers and the scientists working with our academics in agriculture to create these kinds of products. We also have a wonderful new one because it's not just about the hardcore science. The St. Augustine faculty has for many years been a leader in the cultural industry, whether it is TASA certification, whether it is the first certification of the steel pan, all of these things. And now we have a wonderful new entrepreneurship product from the Faculty of Humanities. They will talk about it, I'm sure, but I had to mention the Humankind Studio Media Production Enterprise, which is leveraging their expertise, not just their expertise, but they have within their ranks award-winning film producers. So that's a great one as well. These are some of the actors, no pun intended. And we continue with our collaborations, various collaborations with entrepreneurship, with UTC, boot camp and pitch competition. This is the entrepreneurship unit that Julian heads, connected to the Faculty of Social Sciences. Pitch competition with NEDCO. Stacy's there to harness innovation, and we continue in that vein. And I mentioned the Campus Implementation Committee, which is responsible working with the I chair it, but really all of the hard work is the committee, the subcommittee. I long ago stopped working hard on this because I have such a great committee led by Rianti Singh and a team, Winell and Julian and quite a few others who, what they do as a Shark Tank does is to harness the ideas and the projects from the various faculties and departments. Look at it, is there a good business plan? Help them with that, help them to set themselves up, and then we assist where needed with startup capital. And this is what we did with Humankind, and we have a few others, just to mention just some others. The Optometry Center, for example, is another one that's coming out of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. But there are other ones that the faculties are doing based sometimes on their own, like the 3D printed prosthetics from recycled prosthetics. which of course benefits healthcare and also promotes environmental sustainability. And we've also had, from the Faculty of Sciences, an Diagnostic Services Center. The Alumni Giving Project is one of our big three that we have finally gotten off the ground. It's been being nurtured for quite some time, building the database of our alumni, not just corporate sponsors, but just ordinary alumni who we think will want to support us. And so now this is up and running literally. That's the website there, and it tells you how you can donate to us. So we hope that we will be able to attract donations from our alumni. And of course, the Global School of Medicine is one that we've been hearing about for quite some time. And finally, again, it started way back in 2018, but the last year, we've worked steadfastly. We hired a director, Prof. Simangal. We moved ahead again, lots of background work, a new feasibility study to ensure we're on the right track. We've now, in the last few months, able to get the CAM-HB candidacy accreditation. We obtained that at top speed. We've also obtained approval from the Board of Graduate Studies for the MD degree, which is going to be offered. We've passed the fees at FNGPC, and happily, without even trying so hard as yet, investors are coming forward. They're hearing about it, and they want to be part of it. So we've had someone come forward and say, we would like to fund the lab, which is the Couva lab, and we have a lab in Couva, which was given to the university, and which is where the students would do their labs, to upgrade it. And we've also had other donors saying they want to contribute generally to the Global Medical School. They want to invest. So we are finalizing our funding model as we speak. But in the meantime, we continued with whatever repairs were needed at the South Campus, because this is where the Global Medical School will be taking place. And we decided, instead of allowing the campus to languish in all its beauty, because it is a beautiful campus, basically doing nothing for so long, although it did serve in the COVID, it was a housed in the COVID, we decided that we would rent some of it to the Roytech, who's our affiliate, so we've just finished that. I mentioned to you that the green agenda is very important to the campus. So we have continued, because we believe sustainability is central to our research and also our operations. The research is long-standing. We've had a long history of research in the green issues. And we also realize that being green means that you can be more cost-effective over the long term, but also in terms of savings, you're saving the earth, of course. So we see it as really a core part of how we move forward with entrepreneurship. Our entrepreneurship has to be responsible and has to respect the environment. These are some of the initiatives that we are currently doing. And believe you me, we cannot talk about everything here today. So much is happening on the campus. But this is just some of what we've been doing, capitalizing on UWI's reputation, and it's not just our campus, but all of the campus really. We've had a proud tradition in terms of the alternative energy and climate change, all of these kinds of studies. So here we mentioned the National Carbon Dioxide Storage Atlas, the Blue Carbon Monitoring Project, which is focusing on our coastal and marine ecosystems, the South Oropouche Flood Mitigation Project, which is supported by CAF, Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, big one, because we've seen in the last few years flooding has become a really terrible problem in Trinidad and Tobago. This is the sargassum-based fertilizer here. And of course, we continue contributing, not just contributing, but leading CARICOM's food security goals, and we are aiming to reduce food import costs by 25%. We've also made some investments in terms of the infrastructure. So our spec, we were able to secure over 5 million. To replace an AC, we were determined, it took us a little longer than we thought, but that is because the country is not yet ready, or wasn't as ready. So there are not very many firms that can actually install and source alternative energy air conditioning. So we had to wait, but I think the wait is worth it. So our spec, our sports facility, henceforth, will have an AC that is using alternative energy. And that is also something that is important for revenue generation, as our sports faculty will tell you, because that facility is very much in demand. It's being rented, it's being used for all kinds of partnerships and activities. Then we have on campus from engineering a solar-powered EV charging station, that's already happening, and a geospatial Earth observation data cube funded by Mexico, which will be used for disaster preparedness, land use planning, and agriculture monitoring. In fact, I think our dean, Ram Lal from engineering, is very much involved in that one. Some of the other things that we've been doing in terms of sustainability, including revamping, shall we say, our environmental committee. They've now done a draft policy. They've issued, if you notice, I hope I'm correct, no plastics in the room. We've been attempting to stop the use of single-use plastics on campus at events and meetings, and of course the advocacy that goes with that. Employee engagement, as I said, is very important to us. Certainly when I became principal, it was one of my core goals, to try to reduce this sort of sense of alienation and disconnect that we were seeing in our surveys. And we did a number of things apart from ensuring that persons understood what was happening on the campus, what was happening at the UE, where we're heading, what we're trying to do, because that is always the first step, that people know where we are heading so they can come on board and be enthused. But we did some specific things as well. Regularization of temporary contracts so that we can have more fairness and stability in the employment sphere and prevent exploitation of our workers. We're working towards equity in workload distribution in terms of both our academic and administrative staff. We have a workforce planning initiative going on. We have curriculum. All of these things are happening. We've just, with the help of Republic Bank, who gave us $500,000, built or rehabilitated a building to create an after-school childhood center so that our staff wouldn't have the headache of when they meet their children after school, don't know where to put the children. So that's a very important one that we have actually completed it a couple of months ago, and we're very happy about that. I continued my open hours. We've tried very hard as a management team to be more responsive to all of our constituents, our staff and external stakeholders, and to encourage direct communication. We've also started a program, we started it the year before, where we are training our managers, because we don't assume that because you're a head or a dean or a principal or what have you, that you know how to manage, how to improve in conflict resolution, etc. So we've, even simple things like finance and so on, we've had a huge training program, which is now annual, and it's become quite big. It's something that it was very important for us to do. So we have HR and my office principal leading this, but it's important to know that many people are involved. Legal is involved, even WIGOT is involved in terms of training persons as to how to manage better. What are the risks, media engagement, things like that. And of course, we were able to institutionalize our research festival and awards. This campus had never had a stable one. A few years ago, 8 years ago, we did have a four-year stint, but there are a couple of other campuses that do this very well. So we thought that this is something that every self-respecting university should have. So now we have an annual Principals Research Festival and Awards, And in the first year, it attracted 76 applications and 172 abstracts. So really quite fantastic. And I really want to, well, we'll talk more about that in a minute, so I'll keep it for then. And we did return the end-of-year staff social. It might sound to be a little frivolous, but I can say to you that staff have really appreciated it. In fact, it gets bigger and bigger. It's the only time that we see each other and we meet in a relaxed setting. And we also have our staff performing at this end of year. So it's really been a big hit. There are many things that we used to do that we no longer have the funds to do, like retiree ceremonies and so on. But we've brought this one back, and it's really been a fantastic event. And I think perhaps because of that hard work, we've actually seen a tremendous increase in the staff engagement survey results, which is done by the University Center Planning. We started off in 2022, 43%, a big fail, and we are now up to 53.4%. Nowhere near where we want to be, by the way, but we'll be very happy to see that, and the UWI average is 49%. So a lot more work to do, but we're getting there. We cannot forget our students, of course. And so we've worked hard at enhancing the student experience. And again, we are seeing results. A lot of the work that happens with students happens with the deputy principal's office, with the deans, of course, who are really the frontliners, and the registry, admissions. These are the departments that really work directly with students. DSDD, fantastic, we have Deirdre Charles with us. These are the persons and the departments that really interact. But I was so happy to see, again, we started off in 2022, 49.8%, another fail in 2022. And guess where we are now? We're at 61.1%. That's a huge increase. Congratulations to all of you who worked so hard on this. UWI's benchmark, they asked us to get to 60, and we've actually surpassed it. But as I think management has said more than once, we want to get to the 80s. So that's where we're aiming. But congratulations to my staff, my managers, and all of you. And these are some of the things, not all, some of the things that we did. We invested in infrastructure as much as we can, so automated admission system, CRM, new student shuttles, enhanced walkways, your lovely walkways through the campus which are environmentally friendly, refurbished the halls of residence. There's a new medical student building. We upgraded the gym and seating in the School of Pharmacy. We've worked on our Wi-Fi and generator in the halls. We've installed a fiber network in Canada Hall. We built 80 new park benches, we sourced them, and built 103 additional car park spaces because parking remains a huge headache. So we have a new car park, 106 new computers for student access. And a very nice one, I attended this, that DSD did. It was very touching because we have a number of students on the campus where they are the first persons from their families to ever come to university. Vice Chancellor, I remember when I was at Cave, we used to talk a lot about that, about every home, every family must have a UWI graduate. And you know, my staff recognized in DSD that this was something special. So they organized this first generation student support, first gen STAR program, to transition these students and support them. They are the first in their family to pursue tertiary education, so they provide mentorship, financial aid, counseling, social activities, and family outreach. I must say it was a very touching ceremony when I attended. We have had for a long time a sterling program for student bursaries, which is run by UWI, our foundation. And also, a little known fact, it's not just UWI which sources corporate sponsorship and raises millions, but it's also our staff. Many of our staff, despite the fact we don't have the best salaries in the world, they donate every year to students. I don't know if people know that, and often anonymously. So I really want to shout them out today. We've actually been able to increase our bursaries by 24%, from 343 bursaries to 425 bursaries. Excellent. This handsome young man is our new guild president, Mr. Joseph Patty. Maybe you should give him a round of applause. Okay. And here we have an example of one of the funds, the Dr. Keith Archibald Benevolent Fund. And we also have the UWI Alumni Association giving funds as well. Just to let my tech people know that some of these slides seem to be falling off a bit, but we will continue. I'm not seeing all of it. Let's move on to teaching and learning. And here we're really bigging up our our department, which has been tremendous and is a tremendous support for us. They have done a whole host of new things, videos, instructional videos, webinars, podcast series on AI. They continue to ensure that our teachers are well equipped for our students, fully online. They've expanded the program, and they've also had higher social engagement with the faculty, increasing both their TikTok and YouTube audiences. There's some of the other things that they're doing, including a Basics of Steel Pan credit course. The micro-credentialing initiatives continue for specially admitted students, and we continue to improve our curriculum. Not to be outdone, our library, the Alma Jordan Library, and the support libraries have continued to do tremendous work. Here we see them unveiling the new collection, and they strengthened their cultural heritage collections, both from the Dominican Republic and Mexico. And of course, they received an important archive, 25-year-old archive, which speaks to the enduring contributions in the society from the WAND Foundation. Some of the other things in terms of their resources that they continue to strengthen, and they also, of course, provide very excellent, important support to our students. Now, you probably recognize this young lady here who retired last year, Professor Judith Gobin. You remember the Judy worm? I spoke about it last year. So here she is. She donated the specimen, the Judy worm. It was named in her honor, an international honor. She discovered it. I'm not going to try to pronounce the real name, but it's the Judy Gobin because her name is Judy Gobin. And she donated it to the UWI Zoology Museum. I don't know if all of you know that we actually have that museum on campus, which is the only one in the country. These are some of just a snapshot of some of the new areas where we have ventured out in terms of our academic programming. Climate and Sustainability Studies, a big one. So the MSc in Climate Studies was launched last year. The first multi-campus, multidisciplinary MSc in the area, which draws from our excellent researchers across the UWI, not just St. Augustine. It's been going very well. We have 30-something students already. Then, of course, in the new DM in medical microbiology, we have medical radiation certificates in science. Again, you see that interdisciplinary slant. Agriculture and environment continues to grow and grow and grow. It's one of the success stories, because at one time we were concerned that persons weren't interested in agriculture anymore. But I don't think we can say that. We are seeing some upward trends here, and these are some new programs, including disaster risk resilience. Social sciences and law have chosen to go in terms of the MAP, the micro-credentialing and CPEs, and they are doing well as well. Here's some of the micro-credentialing, which is, of course, a UWI initiative that we have embraced. We're seeing some of the examples here. The low-access courses, for instance. Research and scholarship, a lot to be said here. So we have been able to disburse quite a bit of money to our staff and students, and we've also had tremendous gains in terms of obtaining research funding to the tune of $225.8 million. But don't jump too high, media, and say that we're full of money, because when you have research funding, unfortunately, I always lament, you cannot use it to fix a roof or mow a lawn. It is restricted funding. It is only for the research. So it enables us to do wonderful research, but it is not institutional funding that we can use in other areas, though of course it makes us stronger to be able to attract the other kind of funding. So we've done extremely well. 13% increase in those funds. We've also importantly filed 4 new patents last year, including some very exciting areas such as antibiotic resistance. I think the team from FST, again, I believe it's a multidisciplinary team. I know Prof. Ramsabag leads it. I believe we feel that we may actually have the cure for this growing phenomenon in the world where persons resisting antibiotics. Our bodies have become accustomed to it. So that's what that patent is about. And hopefully we'll find a billionaire who can invest in us bringing out a pharmaceutical very soon. Our research and publications fund, this is what we've dispersed: 27 staff grants, 91 MPhil and PhD student grants. So the money is being used. And this is a snapshot of some of the MOUs and the partnerships and collaborations. Some interesting ones like the Judiciary of Trinidad, of course, some of the usual friends of the campus like the National Gas Company, National Flour Mills, several international and regional partners. So we continue to work in that vein. And this is just to give you a sense of the various broad areas that the campus is focusing on in terms of research: climate change, mitigation and disaster, regional health issues, science and engineering solutions, pandemic preparedness, sargassum, health and agricultural byproducts, AI and digital transformation in the Caribbean. That's a big one for us because we have the experts in the region on this campus. The Principal's Research Awards that I mentioned, the theme last year was 75 years of relevance, responsiveness, and research innovation. And here we saw the themes, here we see the themes last year, and some of the winners, together with Minister West, who attended a lovely ceremony. And Best Researcher, Professor Christine Carrington, who you may remember was one of the leaders in COVID, doing the work in terms of, in fact, the Prime Minister mentioned it yesterday, not her name, but the role of UE when we opened the hospital, Port of Spain Hospital yesterday. He mentioned the role that UE played in terms of immunology and all that work, viruses, virology, etc. She is the expert in the area. And now we have moved ahead with that kind of work. In fact, we've just secured $10 million from the World Bank for pandemic preparedness. These are some of the winners here in terms of the research festival. We also had an industry partners workshop there. And very importantly, we were able not just to display the research in the festival, which was very exciting, and have the award ceremony, but we also put something in print. So we produced the 2023 Research Digest, which is available on our website. And I cannot leave this slide without thanking our GSR, our Graduate Studies and Research Director. And I'm going to say his full name. We always call him Professor Sarah, but I think he deserves his full name today. Professor Saravana Kumar and his team. Congratulations. Excellent work, including getting really important funding, corporate funding, and the funding is growing from year to this is our second year, and the funding is growing because of the impressive work, including a pledge by our Minister of Finance, who attended, but it's beyond this report, but in November, and pledged $10 million when he saw the work that is being done on the campus. In terms of the scientific index rankings, we've seen some good successes as well. 16 of our researchers ranked among the Caribbean's top 20, and UWI St Augustine took all top 10 spots in 2024 in terms of the ranking. And UWI researchers generally, this is the one UWI now ranked among the top 10% globally in their fields. So great work happening on the campus. Just some little snapshots of some of the things. The Sandbox Telecom project with our telecommunications industry, we led that initiative, a new prototype, and partnered with them. The Blue Carbon MRV project, mangrove restoration for carbon sequestration, the Hit Reset Climate Coastal Resilience, also digital innovations for sustainability economic recovery. There's one here from Seismic, the volcanic eruption emergency project. Insect farming, some of them are mentioned. The early warning system is a really important one, and nature-based solutions for underrepresented communities so that when disasters strike, they can have a chance. The insect farming at University Field Station, as you know, our field station has been around for a while, always working with our farmers. Solutions to manage bycatch in tropical marine ecosystems. Sweet potato, work on the sweet potato, which is so good for us nutritionally. AI and robotics, big one for the campus. We are fortunate to have with us Dr. Craig Ramlal, and indeed Dr. Kim Melulu. And he started 2 years ago the Intelligent Systems AI Lab of the Faculty of Engineering. And it's now a global research hub with 24 researchers and 15 projects. It's important to note, I know AI is a buzzword. We're not talking about AI, which is important too. We need to talk about AI, and we need to train ourselves in AI. We're talking about building the AI systems and the programs, a very big difference. So this is what we do. This is what our focus is at this campus. And he is one of our top person here and doing great work at Faculty of Engineering, again, multidisciplinary work. Then we had smart tables for judicial data science, which would help judiciary, the CCJ in particular, in terms of the legal assessments. It's an actuarial tool, actually developed by someone of the same name, Smart. His name is Smart, so he calls it the Smart Tables. And we continued, Craig in particular, continued to support or actively supported the new One UWI policies on AI and proposals. In fact, I think he basically wrote the proposal for these new initiatives single-handedly. Biodiversity and climate resilience. Here we have the BioReach product. We have the pollinator garden from Sciences. I know Minister Penelope Beckles was very tickled with that one, all the various butterflies, including a very rare blue one when she visited. We have some other initiatives here with WIPO, Plastic Waste Project. Good, so many things, but the deans will go into more detail, so we just crush over. Now comes the good part. Here we have our brand new Deputy Principal, Professor Derek Cheney, who was before then the Pro-Vice Chancellor for the Board of Graduate Studies. And we have a new Director of the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute, Dr. Sandra Sukram. We're very pleased to have them with us. These are our new professors, 8 new professors. And some of the awards and honors that happened in the last year. Professor Judith Gobin, President of the International Association. These are the international appointments because, of course, the national appointments are probably too numerous to mention. Dr. Craig Ramlal, appointed to the UN Secretary General's Multi-Stakeholder High-Level Advisory Board on Artificial Intelligence. Professor Mike Koo, to the UNESCO Scientific. And Dr. Camille Samuel wasn't appointed to us. She actually left us. She was our deputy registrar, and she's now the registrar of the 5 islands. So that bell that you're hearing ringing is apparently a protest from OWTU. We got word of it this morning. So I see we got President smiling. So I'm happy that they gave me a little chance to be able to almost finish my presentation, but you no doubt hear more about it on the news at some convenient time, but we will proceed. So although we have great improvement in employee engagement, we still have a lot of work to do, as you can see. So these are some other appointments. Professor Woodavira, who is our Dean of Agriculture, appointed to the National Science Council, Dr. Ronald Rupnarayan, one of our young agriculture stars, to the International Scientific Committee, Dr. Kim Malulu, who is the Chief Rapporteur for the UN's Digital Public Infrastructure Safeguards Initiative. She's one of our top IT digital personnel. I'm pleased to tell you that once again, the nation's top honors were won by UWI people, UWI staff. So this year, Professor Patrick Hossain, professor in electrical and computer engineering, who actually has the record for the most amount of patents at the university. He has a whole lot of patents. Not all of them with UWI, but he's really, really prolific. So he was awarded the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the highest award. The other two are not exactly staff members, but you know, we have to claim them too. So we have UWI alumnus, Mr. Mark Lucan, president of the National Gas Company, who also got one, and Mr. Russell Martineau, SC, who's a former member of the University Council, also got the ORTT. And we have some other awards there from the Anthony Sabga Excellence and other types of awards. We congratulate them all. And these are some of the awards from our students. Code Sprint 2023, our DCIT students won first and third place. Alumni also did us proud, various scholarships and awards. In terms of graduation, these are the statistics. 3,278 graduates in total last year. Our honorary graduates were Mr. Maniram Ragbir, medic, and Dr. Patricia Rodley. Those were our two, and these were valedictorians. All of them did great jobs, presented themselves and their faculties very well. We saw a very slight last year. There was many headlines, decline in enrollment. We have now seen the enrollment going back up. We saw a 1% increase in undergraduate enrollment. A lot of that was from the Faculty of Sciences, up 7%, 29% in sport. But in terms of postgrad enrollment, we saw a decline, no doubt because the funding is no longer readily available. So we saw declines there, but even there, some faculties like agriculture and law had quite important increases, 29 and 26%. And we've also begun to see Faculty of Humanities going up, but we'll probably report that. We will report that next time around. So we've seen an increase, but it's important to also, overall, there was a slight decline when you add the postgrad, but the undergrad is up. And we've also noticed that we're seeing a change in how students want to access the university. So we're seeing some people don't want the 3-year, 4-year degree. They prefer the CPEs and the micro-credentialing, the shorter courses. So, you know, we have to modernize, and we are, in fact, modernizing and doing that, offering those where you can add up micro-credentialing. So we've seen a huge increase in that, and that is something we will soon begin to track in a more coherent way. So we want to bring your attention to the special programs. So I meant these were the traditional degrees that we mentioned. We've had some special programs. So for example, agriculture and social sciences teamed up with the Ministry of Youth and Development. I always think it's agriculture, but it's not agriculture. Training hundreds of young persons in high-tech agriculture in partnership with government and social science management types of training as well. Social sciences also teamed up with the Ministry of Labor to train the on-job trainees. which is a really great initiative, and as I mentioned, CPs and short courses. This lovely photo here, I need to big up marketing because it was their idea to come up with, those are actually people. You might have to zone in. This was after the 75th anniversary close, 75th UWI's 75th close, so marketing had this brainstorm to have us form a 75, what do you call it, a human, what is it? Chain, okay, I thought there was another fancy word. But there we look all very nice on the greens. Isn't that lovely? And this was all to do with our 75th anniversary celebrations. We had the unsung heroes, 75 and 75. Those persons who work with us who are often forgotten in terms of awards, nominated for integrity, workplace excellence, and service beyond duty. So there they are posing. Congrats to them all. And this last little photo here is Mr. Johan Bennett, because one of the things we did, we had an art competition, because we know our staff is very talented. And he won the art competition. And I had a hidden agenda, because I wanted to beautify the principal salon. So the bargain was that the winning entry would be there, and it is there. So his painting, Rooted, Ready, and Rising. And it's supposed to symbolize 5 pelicans. I don't know if you probably can't see the pelicans flying, but that's what it is. And it's now on display in the office of the campus principal. So congrats. And our graphic designer, Ms. Dara Jordan Brown, she won the logo for the university's award-winning 75th anniversary campaign. There she is. And then there was a UWI We Rise Talent Showcase organized by headquarters, University Registrar, and the top 3 spots were won by participants from UWI St Augustine. So our students held pride in it, as Mr. Isaiah Stokes there doing something fancy with a rope. This is our campus leadership. You know them well. These are our hard-working deans here. You'll hear from them soon. And now I'm going to take a little break and ask the deans to continue, and then I'll come back to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Campus Principal. So I'm very pleased to report that the Faculty of Engineering had a very successful academic year last year. We were not only able to deliver all of our undergraduate, or 8 undergraduate programs, but over 30 graduate programs as well, notwithstanding our reduced complement of full-time academic staff. We've been able to maintain our accreditation for all of because, you know, we did these things in the Faculty of Engineering. We've been able to publish 180 reference papers on chapters last year. We have 2 patents that were registered. In addition, our colleagues continue to serve at the national, regional, and international levels in over 200 different organizations. Which suggests that we continue not only to do what we do internally, but contribute to national, regional, and international development. In addition to that, we were able to secure research and other funding, development funding, to the tune of over $73 million, including the South Oropouche River Basin project that Campus Principal mentioned before. In addition, our staff, we have had 3 persons promoted to professor, and we've had several other people securing tenure, getting other promotions as well. Our ATS staff have also done very well during that period. In terms of collaborations, we've signed 4 MOUs with national, regional, and international bodies. The MOU we signed with the government of Mexico was, in fact, the year before that. In terms of outreach activities, the Faculty of Engineering has expanded its outreach office, and it's working with our campus marketing and communications division to do a lot more work to bring a lot more awareness to our stakeholders, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the region. Our student registration in 23-24 was just over 1,500. I'm happy to report this year we have 1,600 registered students. So we've gone up a little bit. So just to summarize some of the initiatives, we created last year several research clusters. Principal mentioned some of these before: AI, sustainable development, renewable energy, carbon capture, geospatial knowledge infrastructure, and this sits on the Geospatial Observation Center Data Cube, only one of its kind in the Caribbean region, and it complements others that are in the Americas. This was a very important initiative. As I said before, we have done quite a bit of outreach, and we have signed many collaborative agreements. In terms of new initiatives, and again, campus principal mentioned this, Dr. Craig Ramlal has launched about 2 years ago the Intelligent Systems Lab. What we have decided to do is to move it to a higher level rather than a department, move it to the faculty level, and that would serve as a hub across the campus and work in synergy with the proposed center that will happen at University Center. And so we will create the appropriate synergies to make sure that we collaborate rather than compete, and make sure we do a lot more. And there are several initiatives in this regard. We are going to be signing several MOUs and MOAs with not only national organizations, not only the private sector, but also the public sector, regional organizations, and international organizations as well. And so we are preparing a lot of that material that will come very soon. We are also looking at how we can infuse into the engineering curriculum sustainable engineering concepts and principles to make sure that when you graduate an engineer, he or she is very aware. And when I say she, we are promoting as well engineering for more female student intake as part of our outreach, because we are aware that that is a particular challenge. In addition to that, we have started discussions with the Faculty of Sport to look at sport engineering as an area that we can develop, especially thinking in terms of our athletes, thinking about how we can do remedial work, how we can help with the image processing so that they can improve their performance, as well as look at equipment and design of equipment to support our athletes. And also note that we are looking at how we can do an engineering innovation program, and also to work with our colleagues. There's going to be a multidisciplinary team to look at innovation incubator and tie that again. Always we are working in synergy with all the other campuses, and part of that would be thinking in terms of, I've communicated with Professor Henry Lee about a collaborative effort across the university system with respect to how we can do a lot more collaboration and innovation. And finally, we have developed a suite of graduate programs in AI, and it is in the approval process at this stage, and hopefully once that is approved, we can move that ahead. I thank you, and I hand over to Professor Udavera, Dean of Food and Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Chair, colleagues, and members of the media. Key highlights from the Faculty of Food and Agriculture. in terms of innovative products, products and commercialization. Of course, you would have heard about BioFight 1.0, which was developed right in our labs. It is commercialized and available in store since 2024. And we are completing the registration right now, and we are also targeting regional markets. We also have our agro-environmental services, which is offered in our labs here on the go as we reach out to our stakeholders. It involves pest and disease diagnosis, soil and water analysis, animal feed and food analysis, analysis as well. And we continue also in our operations at our university field station, which is our field laboratory. We continue to modernize. We have incorporated aquaculture and aquaponics. We are developing value-added products. We are also continuing, the production and sale of our unique pasteurized milk and also sustainably produced meat. With respect to enrollment, as you would have heard from the principal, we were particularly, heartened by the fact that the BSc Agriculture that has always seen, a dip in enrollment. We have seen almost 100% increase in enrollment in BSc Agriculture, which is very, very great for us. And this is because of strategic outreach efforts and also a very active faculty advisory board. With respect to CPEs, of course, we have completed the first cohort of advanced certificate in plant quarantine. We have also, in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, trained hundreds of students, cohort 1 for the youth aquaculture, cohort 2 for the shade house production and management during the review period, and about 65 students that did internship as well. We have enhanced our collaborations and our partnerships with several MOUs and agreements. And I want to mention particularly the one with Yara and and Tringent Limited, National Flour Mills, and all these have helped us because they came with scholarships for new PhD students, for new MPhil students, and also refurbishing of our facilities and our laboratories. With respect to research, research grants, of course, we have received a number of, or we have been awarded a number of research grants in several millions of US dollars, and it has helped us as well in acquisition of new equipment and refurbishment of our labs as well. The insect farming project would have been mentioned. We have the fisheries project that is in excess of $7 million US dollars. We also have the soil care project, phase 1, which is coming to an end, where we are updating soil data. Scholarships have also been provided for about 5 PhD students through that grant. So we are impacting, because these are multi-country grants, so we are impacting our stakeholders out there in the region and making a difference. And looking forward, this year we are commencing the phase 2 of the soil care project, and we have also been awarded the bio-resilient project, which is also in excess of $3 million US. We are modernizing, continue to modernize our university field station. We're innovating on value-added products. The pandemic fund that you've just heard about from the principal, the Trinidad and Tobago One Health Laboratory will be established at the university field station, which is through the World Bank Pandemic Fund. And also, we have reached out to 5 islands. We're having a discussion with 5 islands to get the presence of the Faculty of Food and Agriculture there to service the OECS. So the discussion is going on there. And with respect to research, innovative research, one of the research that we want to focus on is on the giant African snail to alleviate health, agricultural, and environmental impact, of course, in collaboration with our sister faculties, with the University of Trinidad and Tobago, with the Ministry of Agriculture, and also the Ministry of Health. Thank you very much. And I hand you over to the Dean of Humanities.
Thank you so much, and good morning again, everyone. Let me start off by talking immediately about Humankind Studios, which the principal mentioned. This is our dynamic video production business coming out of the Faculty of Humanities and Education. It is revenue generating, and it gives us a space to enter the cultural industry in a very, I think, important way. It also offers job opportunities for our students and alumni, and Humankind also accesses a lot of the expertise that we already have in our alumni who've graduated from the film program. We've done some projects that we're already very proud of. We've worked with Arrive Alive. This is a documentary with an NGO, and it's been committed to road safety and giving public awareness to a problem that I think we need to address in Trinidad. We've also done some cultural documentaries, Dancing on Steel, and this video project celebrated the cultural legacy of the steel pan, so we were quite proud of that as well. And we're working on a project with the, focusing on the Orapooch Basin, and this is a collaborative project with the Faculty of Engineering, Humankind Studios, and the UN. And this project is partnering with farmers to address global warming issues by sustaining sustainable practices. So we're trying to get into all different areas with Humankind, working both externally and internally. And like I said, we're very grateful to the campus for the support that they have given to Humankind Studios in the faculty. In terms of innovative ideas, we're also very proud of a migrant initiative that was started in the faculty and continues, and it leverages institutional resources and expertise to support Spanish-speaking refugee children in accessing mainstream primary education in Trinidad and Tobago. The project was twofold. So we got UWI student volunteers, and this also came from a discussion that we had in the principal's office to involve our students in volunteering. And we got about 41 students, not just from humanities and education. I can't claim that. It came from across the campus. And they went out into the communities and worked with migrant kids to teach them English. Secondly, we're actually training our teachers in primary schools, and this is coming out to the faculty so that they will learn how to help migrant children in the classroom. So we're very, very proud of this project. In terms of positive changes, as many of the other faculties can bear witness to, we're recovering slowly but surely from the COVID pandemic, I should say. And so we have increased our enrollment. This has come a lot from the hard work that has been done going into different communities, schools. The principal's office also organizes events where you can actually go in person and meet, different schools, different communities. And also the departments, they've done a lot of work, both virtually and in person, promoting the faculty. And also, I think it has a lot to do with the certificate program that we now offer, where we allow students to matriculate before they do the CAPE level exam. They come in for a year, they do a long research project, and then they can matriculate into our degree programs once they meet the standards. All of these things, I think, have helped a lot to help increase our enrollment. We've also introduced new MEd programs. We also have postgraduate courses in information and literacy. We also have research clusters coming out of a faculty retreat. What we're trying to do is to have more interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary research in humanities, because we do believe that that will drive innovation in a different way. Moving forward, we have a career day coming up in the faculty. We have been focusing a lot on recruitment, student experience, and placement. Placement is particularly important for our Faculty of Humanities and Education students. They get very sound degrees, but we do believe that we need to help them find jobs. And so we have a career day coming up next week where we have people from industry, workshops, etc., helping our students. We are aggressively going after internships now for our students because we have to find places for them. And finally, we want to keep expanding Humankind Studios because we do believe that this is something that has come out of faculty and humanications and education, but also out of the campus as a whole that can really have an impact in all areas. So thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate it. And I will pass on to my fellow Dean of Law. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The Faculty of Law, we have a few highlights from the 2023-24 academic year and a few initiatives that we're currently working on that I will share with you in this brief presentation. On the Innovating for the Future, I'd like to highlight that our revenue-generating educational programs are, in particular, the CPE program and our courses that we offered several LLM courses, standalone courses within the Continuing Professional Education CPE framework. These were successfully launched last year for the first time, where participants receive a postgraduate professional development certificate with academic credit on completion of the course. We offered courses including Trade, Mark Law, the protection of marketing assets, Advanced Insurance Law, Advanced Corporate Insolvency Law, and Advanced International Investment Law. Last year, the faculty also rebranded and revised the LLM in Oil and Gas Law to be the LLM in Oil, Gas, and Energy Law. This was not just a change in name, but in substance, in which we looked at the content of the program and we recognized that transition into renewable energy and sustainable development are important aspects of the legal framework governing oil and gas law. This is also in line with the principal's report that the principal just mentioned, sustainability and green research initiatives. In the rebranding and revisioning of our curriculum for the oil and gas courses, this also allowed us to offer the course in the MSc in Climate Studies program, which is part of the new Global Online Campus that the principal mentioned in her report also. So the oil and gas law course is now offered as a CPE, a professional education course under the LLM program, so you can do that course as a standalone one-off course. The faculty is also currently in discussions for new initiatives and courses in the LLM with the IDB to have a course on the development of financial institutions transaction law in Latin America and the Caribbean. We believe that this course will facilitate training in an area that is very relevant and timely. So the faculty is looking forward to launching this course in September 2025. We're also turning to alumni and stakeholder engagement. We're looking to leverage our strength and sustainability, recognizing the importance in participating with various outreach activities, enhancing stakeholder engagement, partnerships, and involving our alumni. We had involved the Alumni Association for the first time in offering a prize to our students at our annual prize award ceremony in the current academic year, and we've successfully partnered with several legal luminaries and law firms in obtaining sponsorship to recognize our students and future lawyers as legal scholars at our annual prize award ceremony. So we've established these prizes to recognize the work of our hardworking students. In addition to the annual prize award ceremony, the faculty will continue to engage in various workshop and outreach activities that can attract potential students and improve the overall student experience, as well as we're committed to hosting several outreach activities and events. In the 2023-24 academic year, we hosted several events that sought to promote continuing legal education to our alumni and interested persons, to promote knowledge sharing in the law, to create opportunities for networking, to collaborate with various stakeholders, as well as to positively impact the communities locally, regionally, and internationally. Some of the successful specialized conferences and seminars that we hosted included the 4th UWI Oil and Gas Law Conference, which was branded towards a just transition. We had an intellectual property and innovation workshop, panel discussions on various areas, too numerous to mention here, but focusing on human rights and international trade, international law, law of the sea, the Guyana-Venezuela controversy, among others. We're also working on a new pre-law program, and we're hoping that this program will be launched in the 2025-26 academic year. We've already heard from a lot of interested prospective students. There's a lot of interest that this program is generating, and this program will enable students, such as those with CSEC, to obtain a certificate that will be recognized by the Board of Undergraduate Studies for matriculation into the law program once they fulfill the GPA requirements. And we believe this program will also attract a lot of persons who are interested in getting some general knowledge about the law to get the pre-law certificate. The faculty also continues to achieve success with our students engaged in various international moots and debates, and these activities nurture our students, foster critical thinking, help to enhance their advocacy skills. You can see in the photo at the top, we have a team from the St Augustine Faculty of Law there who won the Best Academic Institution Prize, and they came second overall in the 14th annual CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice International Law Moot Competition. The students at the bottom, they participated in the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament. So students would participate in these various moots and debates. We have also the Jessup International Law Moot that we encourage the students to participate in, and various environmental law moots that provide wonderful opportunities for our students to master knowledge of various legal issues and enhance their debating and advocacy skills. Turning to internships, MOUs, and collaborations, the faculty remains committed to offering our students internship opportunities. These would provide them with great opportunities for real-world experience, as well as strengthen the faculty's relationship with various stakeholders. So you see a list of some of the companies that offered students internship opportunities, including Agostini's Pharma Group of Companies, Linklater's Law Firm, the Trinidad and Tobago Fair Trading Commission, Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, and so on. And we entered into an MOU with the Cardozo School of Law in New York, providing opportunities for collaboration, research exchange to benefit our students and staff. We're also in discussions with other entities to collaborate and have MOUs, including the Attorney General Chambers, IDB, et cetera. Finally, the research impact on scholarly work of the faculty continues to be at the forefront of our mission. The faculty, we continue to share our knowledge of the law. Last year, we successfully published the second issue of the UWI St Augustine Law Journal, and this year we're on key to have the third issue released. We want to continue with the momentum and sustainability of consistently publishing work that is relevant to the region, and we also have a Faculty of Law research series and research in progress seminars, and those cover various topics in which colleagues and various scholars would present their research work and receive feedback, and that enhances the quality of work in the faculty and the impact of the work that we're doing to translate law and policies into law and for the work. Thank you, sir. I'll pass you on to the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Science.
Thank you and good morning. I have a very few slides to highlight the faculty's achievements. Too numerous to mention. It was all in the faculty report, the booklet, and campus principal mentioned quite a few of them. I think student enrollment, I did not include it, but because all of the deans are saying, I have to mention to you that all the programs in Faculty of Medical Sciences are highly competitive, and we are unable to actually admit everyone who apply. So that's the reality we face, and because of the constraints of the number of enrollment we can take, it's all the programs are fully enrolled to the quota. So that's no problem at all, and we actually, the major highlights that both School of Dentistry and School of Veterinary Medicine, we got accreditation from the Caribbean Accreditation Authority of Medicine and Healthcare Professions. Campus principal mentioned that the Global School of Medicine also obtained the candidacy status from the CAMHP. We also got the fees approved for Global School of Medicine, and we are now looking at enrolling students, actually foreign students, to come into Global School of Medicine, because that's catered exclusively for revenue generation and foreign students. So we are engaging now companies as well as recruiters to bring in students to the Global School of Medicine. And we actually got 120,000 euros from a CARFA grant. The bidders were ranked, and the faculty got 99.4% mark, and we were awarded the 120,000 euros, and the Medical Sciences Library is spearheading that particular project, which involves the whole Caribbean region, and they want to set up an evidence-based data set, which our Medical Sciences Library is spearheading. We also entered into memorandum of understanding with School of Veterinary Medicine, because we do have only one form with the university, which is the University Field Station, and the CAMHP wants our students to be exposed to many other forms, and so we signed MOU with many forms, and also we recently also got this MOU signed with Massachusetts College of Pharmacy for offering dual degree. As you all know, currently Faculty of Medical Sciences pharmacy degree is a bachelor's degree, and most of the North American pharmacists are Doctor of Pharmacy, Pharm D program. So to actually enhance our bachelor graduates, they can get into this program with the Massachusetts, and they can become Doctor of Pharmacy, and they will be able to practice in US and Canada. So there are many other initiatives which I haven't mentioned. The 10 million pandemic fund, which Professor Carrington brought in. We are now actually working with Faculty of Food and Agriculture in the University Field Station to develop a center, what is called, the acronym is EDGE, which is a genomics, diagnostics and genomics center, and a TT1 health laboratory, where it's going to be preventative for future emerging diseases, emerging viruses, because we will have the state-of-the-art technology for genomics research, as well as we are going to train, laboratory people in genomics, and we are also going to enroll students for master's and MPhil PhD programs. And the rest of all the achievements have been listed in the book, and I'll now hand over to Dean Coburn, Faculty of Science and Technology.
Thank you, and good morning all. Last year, we heard that a new species of tube worm, Lamellae brachia judigobenai, principal, was named after Professor Judith Gobin. In this reporting cycle, I'm happy to advise that the type specimen formerly housed at London's Natural History Museum is now located at the UWI FST Zoology Museum. In terms of infrastructure, a new service building has been handed over as phase one of a major overhaul of teaching and research facilities of the Department of Chemistry. The Department of Physics developed an agile instrument for continuing education in its postgraduate certificate and diploma in medical radiation science, which is a collaborative effort with the Faculty of Medical Sciences. No surprise that we had a 7% increase in enrollment because of a very sharp focus on stakeholder engagement. This year we saw a 7th annual UWI Math Fair, which attracted 3,500 visitors to the campus. And in connection with our Sci Fest, the second edition of which will be held this Thursday, we are nurturing the next generation of scientists and innovators. We're also providing strong frameworks for science exploration and national themes with our strong internship frameworks for engagement with both the private sector and more recently with the public sector and exploring national themes. Innovating for the future. Our researchers are developing a novel non-invasive method for grading type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance with the aim of increasing early detection. You would have already heard from the campus principal about the sargassum-based crop biostimulant for farmers. And our computing and IT department continues to work with internal stakeholders to bring greater efficiency to administrative processes. The BUE app is one fine example which facilitates a smoother experience for applicants. We're also innovating for the future with our green chemists who are extracting essential oils of lemongrass, also known as fever grass, to prepare potent, natural, non-toxic insecticide, and the former waste plant material is then used for plastics productions, green solvents, fuel blenders, and cosmetics. So we're providing a closed-loop agriculture-based value chain. Finally, we are developing semiconductor nanoparticles and thin films for applications in solution process solar cells, efficient photoluminescent solar windows, electrochemical and electro-optical biosensor devices. The future looks bright. Thank you, and I will pass you on to Dean Lewis Cameron.
Thank you. Colleagues, good morning. In the Faculty of Social Sciences, our focus is on being socially engaged and solutions-oriented. So all the initiatives that we engage in are geared towards achieving that particular goal. And so I want to just share with you 3 highlights from the 2023-2024 academic year. And more details, of course, are included in the annual report. We established quite a number of strategic partnerships, but one that has been, we are particularly pleased with is a partnership between UNICEF, Ministry of Health, and the Department of Behavioral Sciences, where we launched the first mental health and psychosocial support chat line in Trinidad and Tobago, with the intention of expanding to other Caribbean nations. This chat line will be available to young persons across Trinidad and Tobago, intended to provide accessible text-based support, referrals, and information on mental health resources and services. And what is good about it is that the chat line is manned by our students, and all the students are volunteers coming out of the Department of Behavioral Sciences. So we're quite excited about this initiative, which is actually going to be rolled out on this campus shortly. The second initiative is that of program diversification, and Principal would have mentioned we started the micro-credentialing accelerator program, and this is an initiative that is the first of its kind coming out on the St Augustine Campus, where we have created a series of what we refer to as bespoke certificates. And this particular program provides professionals seeking to improve their marketability with access to attractive bundles of cross-disciplinary postgraduate courses that will increase their competitiveness and provide an opportunity, most importantly, to ladder up to higher degree programs. So Principal mentioned that the campus is now expanding the access opportunities for individuals, and this MAP program is one way of doing so. We actually piloted the first program in advanced public service HR dynamics, and we were able to graduate 20 students out of that first pilot. The third initiative in the 2023-2024 academic year, in the faculty, we launched a multidisciplinary research grant to the value of $10,000 to empower our staff to engage in multidisciplinary research. Now, what is interesting about this research grant is that the focus is on allowing groups of researchers in various disciplines to come up with strategic interventions that will assist with treating with social challenges or issues in communities. So it's an intervention-based grant where the focus is on providing solutions to some of the issues that we face in our communities. So we launched the first grant, and the first grant has been given to a group of researchers looking at mental health risk among young adults within the UWI community. So those are just three highlights from the last academic year. As we look forward, the 2024-2025 academic year, three areas we want to focus on that I'll highlight. First of all, program enhancement through our business development unit. We are pivoting towards that unit becoming a soft skills specialist. And we are aiming for this particular unit to be known as the place to go to for soft skills development, both for our internal stakeholders as well as our external stakeholders. So we'll be ramping up on the MAP program as well as customized in-company and personal training. Second initiative we want to look at is further industry collaboration. We are later on this year, we are looking at an academic industry exchange initiative, which is a shift away from the traditional type of academic conferences. And what we're doing is we are looking at industry indicating to us a specific case that they would want us to address, and we will be aiming to provide solutions through multidisciplinary lens. And so that's a new initiative we want to pilot then. And then thirdly, next month, the faculty will be launching the establishment of its alumni chapter. And that launch is expected to take place at the end of April. Thank you. I now hand over to my colleague, Dean, Faculty of Sport.
Start off by saying that the faculty as a whole has been very active in a lot of academic pursuits and has actually secured a lot of grants, some very prestigious grants from the International Olympic Committee, World Health Organization, the International Cricket Council, Pan American Paralympic Association, amongst others. And the pleasing thing is that for the International Olympic Committee, World Health Organization, and International Cricket Council, they sought us out and asked us to apply for their grants, as opposed to us going out and looking because of work that we'd done with them previously. However, the focus of this presentation obviously are things that are taking place at the St. Augustine Academy. And our key highlights would start with the fact that not only did we have our first set of graduates from the faculty at St. Augustine, but our first ever valedictorian from any of the campuses from the faculty. And Alexandria Douglas represented us very well, and also the students that she was speaking to and about. Happy to say that our student numbers have increased over the last few years, and this period in consideration was an improvement over the post-COVID slump. One of the highlights that we do have is what we call cross-campus teaching, whereby the best lecturers lecture to all the students of the faculty. That has continued and has been strengthened but we're responsive as well because the students at St. Augustine had said that apart from receiving the lectures, they wanted some specialized tutorials and so on, and we're able to appoint tutors for certain courses that they wanted to have specific focus on. And that was something that I thought we were very responsive for, and I congratulate the Academy for that. We continue to publish a fortnightly column, which is published simultaneously in the Trinidad Guardian and the Jamaica San Declino. And that's an important column because it allows our students, along with our staff, and we're getting a lot of guest publishers now, coming in and publishing. And I'm happy to say that I was recently at a conference in India, and somebody had actually picked up on one of our articles and had come across to discuss further research with us there. So that's been going very well, and it was started almost 7 years ago. The key highlights as far as our sporting activities are concerned on the field was that the St. Augustine Women's Cricket Club won their division, and that our football team plays first in the TSAT Football League. But our our sporting facilities have been used increasingly to not only increase revenues, but increase in standard as well. And what you may see there underneath the imposing UWI Spec building is branding of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup competition, something that we're proud to have been involved in, because this, as you'd be aware, was the largest competition that we'll probably ever be able to hold in the region, and UWI was instrumental in it. But just going back to the rentals, you'll recall that we reported from 2020 that the CPL was using our facilities as a training ground, which was revenue generating. But since then, the ground has been used for CWI Regional 50 Super 50 competitions and first-class competition. First-class cricket came back for the first time last year. It then progressed to the regional under-19 women's tournaments. Then the West Indies under-19 versus USA under-19 international. It, as I mentioned, was used as a training ground for the ICC T20 World Cup last year. And just looking forward, it will be hosting for the first time a senior international match when the West Indies Women's Series against South African women will be held at the St. Augustine ground. But apart from our involvement in revenue collection in cricket, we also hosted the Canada Under-19 football camp last year, which went so successfully that they've now recommended to their women's team who will be coming and utilizing the facilities. And then we continue to use the sport facilities for sport and family days to external clients, to our students, and to our faculties. But once again, you'll see the branding there of the T20 World Cup, where the faculty was very deeply involved, not only in our facilities at Caville and St. Augustine, but in our personnel as well. Our faculty members included a coach for one of the teams, a commentator for the competition, the chief medical officer for the entire competition, team doctors and team physiotherapists. Many external teams actually engaged our faculty members to work for them instead of bringing their own personnel from far afield. Along our strategic initiatives, we developed two very important master's courses, one in the International School for Developmental Justice, where an MSc in Sport and Discrimination and Reparative Justice was completely written at the St. Augustine campus and is ready to be rolled out. It's got all the approvals and so on, so it's just for the school to decide when to roll it out. And then, as the principal had mentioned before, the MSc Climate Change had come out this year, which is a university-wide project, and the Faculty of Sport has a course in there as well. Our faculty members, including personnel from St. Augustine, were part of a project that measured the carbon emission footprint in the T20 World Cup. And that involved them going out and measuring carbon emission, etc., which was done by members of all the academies, but St. Augustine featured there as well. Going forward, we're looking to start our PhD program in sport. It's a vibrant program at Mona. And unfortunately, there are 2 or 3 Trinidadians who are actually registered at Mona who would love to transfer once we have this program starting at St. Augustine. So that's been initiated as well. And the other thing was that we actually refurbished and upgraded our gym for the comfort of our students and staff, for which we've received accolades extensively. As far as future projects are concerned, the principal alluded to the fact that our AC unit is likely to be installed in this upcoming year. The UWI Spec facility is already being used for rentals by many external agencies or sporting bodies. But once we have that AC installed, we can see that capacity increasing quite a bit. And you would have gathered from this presentation that revenue generation in the faculty, we see our facilities as gold mines, and we're happy to say that we're able to monetize these both indoor and outdoor facilities. And we want to get higher level events coming in the future. Our half marathon 5K that we had last year was the largest that we ever had. But future projects include expanding that, increasing sponsorship, because in the end, that's supposed to generate scholarships for our students. Speaking of which, we want to increase the intake even further and have been having active marketing campaigns. But more importantly, we're getting some traction with GATE funding now, as the government is engaging us, realizing that they need more sports specialists in Trinidad and Tobago to lift the profile of sport in the country. And therefore, we've gotten much further down the road than we ever had before, and are hoping that we'll see that in this academic year, so that once we get the GATE funding, we anticipate a lot more students who would want to come in to the programs. So with that, I pass you back to the principal. Thank you very much.
What wonderful work was happening on the campus. I think we should give the deans and the faculty backward. But, you know, as I was thinking, I said to myself, you know, there's so much hidden work that happens that we don't mention in this report from various departments. And just give me a minute, because I did say all staff at St. Augustine, all staff are on board. And I just want to mention just a few of them that contribute to our success, but we don't see or we don't acknowledge in this report in this way. Our security department and staff, our registry, and of course, knock on wood, we have quite a safe campus, Mr. Corbett, so we are grateful for that. Our registry, hardworking registry, our bursary, well, they're sort of in the end coming in, but we don't have a full report. Our DFM, who maintain our buildings and so with very little resources, and our project office, and their both directors are here. Our HR department, our IT department, DSDD, I think I mentioned DSC, Department of Student Services a while back. Our OSH department, always working hard. Of course, marketing and communication, always there. And even my own department, the program officers and the principal's office, these are all unsung heroes, if you like, that work hard and support what happens on the campus. So thank you to all of them. So to wrap up, we will just look a bit at the outreach and then some of the financials. So the outreach, a lot of outreach. There we are hosting His Royal Majesty from Ghana some months ago. We've also had the Future of Caribbean Science Symposium, AI, Climate Change, and Music Technology. We had the first Hydrogen Symposium, lots of conferences and lectures, and you've heard some of them already. Some more pictures here, that you can see these here. Partnerships, we continue with our partnerships, our Smart Tables initiative, our public health research contributions, all of the various industry partnerships with individual faculties in the several areas. The UWI Scientists Speak is a special initiative started in my office, but now a life of its own, where we had UWI on the ground first with the sort of social sciences issues. Now we UWI Scientists Speak, where we focus on the science, and also we have CNC3 TV interviews then, a number of topics. That one you see there is some of the only professor of astronomy in the region, Professor Hack, that particular sample you see there. And, you know, it's very interesting as we go out there and we show what we are made of. You know, we attract investors. And you heard of Yara and Tringen that the Faculty of Agriculture spoke about, who's been building us a lab and working with us in the field station. This is an international company and a national company. And they came to us after reading one of these articles in the newspaper by one of our agricultural researchers. So the outreach is important. These are some of the areas. We had our first ever retirees listening session, because our retirees want to be with us, and we've been asking us have an email with them as well, keep the email, and we've gotten there, and that's a picture of them with us. They want to help us continue to grow. Our stakeholder engagement, this is one of the exhibits, the trade industry exhibit that we had some of our products exhibited nationally. When you go outside for lunch, you'll see we've done a reproduction of some of it, just at the end there. And of course, we have partnered with the Ministry of Planning to build capacity for 9,000 public servants over 3 years. We're going to be offering courses, we've started already, to these public servants. The UWI on the Move is another initiative. You would have heard Dean Walcott Hackshaw talk about it, where we've decided, and in keeping with the university's objective of greater access and alignment, we don't want to sit here on our laurels. We want to go out into the communities, especially those rural communities and underserved communities. And this has been a great success. And we've gone to Moruga, we've gone to Tableland, we've gone to Blanchisseuse, which is one of our coastal areas. We've gone to Labre, we've gone north and south very far. And you're seeing some lovely photos there of the students. It's both students and adults come to these sessions. Here you see them doing some nice experiments, science experiments. They're all pretty excited. And of course, student recruitment, our hardworking marketing and communications department, having many, many career and advising events, having secondary visits to ensure that the UWI's name is out there and that we can attract our students to the UWI. You heard about the wonderful maths fair from FSD. I always try to attend, and every year, once a year, the campus is overtaken by thousands of students. It happened just recently. And there you also have a picture of the, that's one of the pictures of the math fair, but we also have the UWI Film Camp. So lots of outreach happening. That is just the tip of the iceberg. Budget, to talk about our budgets, never the most pleasant discussion, but nevertheless, here we are. This is what the budget looks like, as I think it's well known now. We've all had to endure cuts in our budget. We're down like about 50% from the good old days a few years ago. And so we continue to have quite a bit of receivables as well, and we're working hard to try to overcome that. But nevertheless, this is one of the reasons which has propelled us to move forward to improve our sustainability and revenue generation efforts, because we understand that we're going through a difficult period at this juncture all over the Caribbean. So the past 3 years, as you would see, as our budgets have decreased, we've begun to see deficits in red the last 3 years because of that cut. And we hope, of course, we are hoping for better times, but the campus is moving forward very positively, as you can see, working extra hard to ensure that we don't just survive, but we thrive. So all of this financial information is also in the booklet. These are the graphs here. And we always want to talk about some of our hurdles. It's not just the decline in our subventions, but again, we want to underscore that we have not increased our tuition fees for about 24 years. And it's probably at crisis point in terms of our tuition fees. We remain the lowest in the region, I'm sure one of the lowest in the world. We still have to fight hard to ensure that our enrollment is up to par. We've seen some gains, and this is despite the low degree costs, but it is something that we still consider that we have to make an extra effort. Of course, we're working hard in terms of our receivables. We have, as with our other sister campuses, an escalating pension fund liability. We, I guess one could say it's a hurdle, but it also could be a joy to expect salary increases. So we've managed to settle two of them, WIGAT Group and EPA Group. But as you would have heard this morning, OWTU is still not settled, but we are encouraged in terms of the WIGOT matter because we have been, I would say we are on an upward trajectory, looking forward to job evaluation because, again, this has been in the press over and over again, but it is a huge headache, not just because of the power of the dollar for our staff, but also because we have begun to see in the last 4 or 5 years in particular huge attrition because of the low salaries that persons prefer not to work here if the salary is not enough. And so we've had difficulty filling posts as well when persons realize what the salary is despite all the great work. So we've made some gains, some improvements in relation to the last settlement, but it is an upward battle. As you walk around the campus, you would see that our buildings, many of them are very old. This is a 65-year-old campus now, so maintenance costs continue to go up. Procurement has become much more difficult because of the legislation as well as our own high standards in terms of procurement. And of course, we appreciate that in terms of staff and in terms of the attrition that I mentioned, that is not just a question of staff for staff's sake, but it had begun to affect our quality assurance and even in the future, our accreditation if we are unable to have the high caliber staff that is doing all of the wonderful work that we mentioned, if we're unable to sustain them and keep them here. I always like to mention outward-looking public, because as a Caribbean citizen, I'm very conscious of the fact that, especially at the St. Augustine campus, we have to contend with a public that has become increasingly outward-looking, seeming less and less to value our own institutions, UWI being one, something I always talk about. Many UWI graduates now, seems to be a pattern, want to send their children abroad. I suppose nothing is wrong with that, but we also want to remind everyone that we have a quality product in the University of the West Indies and that we must invest in our own institutions and in ourselves, really, if we really believe in ourselves, and it's something that I have seen in particular in Trinidad and Tobago, less so in Jamaica, Barbados, etc., with their campuses. So I always include it as something that we should always consider. And I do hope, media, that when you write about this morning, you don't just write about enrollment, but you would write about some of the real successes and achievements so that the public out there can really see and appreciate, because we can't do it ourselves. Right, innovating for tomorrow, leveraging our strengths. As you would have seen, we've made outstanding strides in research commercialization, in sustainability, in employee engagement, in student service, and stakeholder partnerships. We continue to make significant contributions to our nation in Trinidad and Tobago, our government here, as well as the regional governments, Caribbean society, and individual lives. And we believe that the UWI brand, and I thank marketing again for coming up with this UWI MADE name, which I really love. This UWI MADE brand is synonymous with excellence, with ingenuity and resilience. And it embodies our promise to continue to serve with excellence and pride. This is why I want to thank you all again. These are some of our people, including our security there starring. I want to thank all of you, my colleagues, and I have this pleasure and honor to lead this campus, and I'm really proud of the work that you've all done, and let us continue to move forward and upward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Antoine. Your presentation has given us a very clear account of the many, many, many achievements of the UWI in the 23-24 period. And UWI MADE, in particular, caught my attention because I consider myself UWI MADE. And UWI MADE is a powerful testament to the potential of the institution's research and the limitless possibilities that it can create when applied. As you continue to build on these successes, my real encouragement is partnership, 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 collaboration, 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 and initiating, as you are doing, reaching out. Because a lot of us don't know the story, and it's a powerful story when you hear it in today's proceedings. Of course, even as Professor Antoine proudly shared these achievements, she would be the first to acknowledge that none of this would be possible without the dedication and the hard work of her staff, the faculty, and the students. And they are the driving forces behind the scenes, pushing the boundaries day to day to turn ideas into action. A heartfelt thank you to each of you and all the staff. I was really impressed with the people centricity that ran through the whole presentation. And how people work together and come together is the magic of this region. And I think it's the magic that will continue to make us more resilient. A heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for your commitment and passion. This success is a direct result of your efforts. I now invite you, Sir Hilary Beckles, to score some fast runs.
Well, I will share with you that the other Hillary, Hillary Gomes, people don't know his name was Hillary. Hillary Gomes was not known for scoring fast. But it's a tremendous joy and a great honor to be with you here in this council meeting to receive the principal's report. Over the years, I have taken every opportunity to attend to this council meeting. And even in my years as a principal, I would travel across the river to be here at St. Augustine. For me, it's an act of reparations, because I have spent 20 years on the Mona campus and 20 years on the Cayfield campus. And so St. Augustine fell between the cracks. So each time I come here, it is a part of paying respect to you, my colleagues. I am so happy that the SCR is back. I have spent, yes, you can clap for that. I think you should. What a noble institution. I spent many a year in that SCR with some of my great friends, the stalwarts of this campus, Zafar Ali. You remember him, the Red Stripe? Kenny Ramchand, Vaughn Lewis, Earl Lovelace, all of us used to gather in the SCR, and that is where we theorized the future of our university. And I'm reliably informed that since the SCR has been closed, that the local brands have improved in quality tremendously. And I cannot wait to test the validity of that fact. But allow me to recognize our Honorable Minister. I know she's not with us, but her spirit, and to pay respect to all of her colleagues in the Ministry of Education and Finance, and to recognize and to thank so very much our new chair, the Honorable Robert Riley. Now, when I read notations on his identity, I'm told that he is a corporate icon. Now, but what is missing from that narrative is that he is a corporate icon because he's a UWI icon. And he has spent many a wonderful time in this university, and I would venture to say that his enormous success was due to his journey through this enterprise we call UWI. So you are an amphibious character. Thank you. Principal Antoine and Deputy Principal Chedi and all of our distinguished deans, all of our colleagues, and of course our students. I take this opportunity also to recognize our Chancellor, the Most Honorable Douglas Miller, who I know is doing his utmost to listen in to these meetings as part of his preparation for his journey ahead. Now, I will divide this intervention into two parts. An overview of some of the critical issues that have taken place in our university since last we met. And then I will make my commentary on this excellent presentation by the principal. And I was so pleased to see the slide on the retirees who are being celebrated. Well, I know that when my time come and go and I passed on, I know my duppy is going to be attending these meetings. So I will not need a special invitation. I will just be here. So I have no PowerPoint presentation to make. I much prefer to listen and to absorb and to scribble my notes by way of being organic and dialectical. Now, I will begin with our retreat in 24, the Executive Management Retreat, where we went up to the 5 islands to reflect on our strategic plan. As you know, if you have a midterm review of a strategic plan, there can only be 3 options: that you are on target, you are off target, or the plan is not worth the paper it's written on, in which case you abandon ship and start again. So we were at 5 Islands reflecting upon where we are. Now, it was interesting that we were at 5 Islands in Antigua because that new campus originated in the thinking around the strategic plan. So it's a product of the strategic plan in and of itself, because the OECS members have been founders of this university. They were there in 1948. And the evidence became clear, the evidentiary basis of their neglect. We really did underserve our people in the OECS these past 70+ years, and we took a decision to end it. That we will bring our OECS sisters and brothers fully into the firmament of this University of the West Indies, and this is what we did. And that was a part of our strategic thinking. No one left behind. All parts of our ecosystem are equal. And so we went to reflect upon the thinking that went into the strategic plan. The concept of the one UE, not as a theory, but as a practical proposition. The issue around the pillars of the strategic plan. And of course, we had to think very deeply about how you structure pillars in the strategic plan, and thus the concepts of access, of alignment, and agility proved to be very useful indeed. Now, I must say that when I realized that we do not have in our university a department of economic history, and I wonder why that is. I came out of a department of economic history, and we were taught that you must have one foot deep into the past, that's the history part, and the other foot deeply into the future, that's the other foot. Makes you a very unhappy character. Because if half of you is in the past and the other half is in the future, it becomes very torturous indeed, because you're always thinking, how can we read the future? What kind of tea leaves do we have to study to read future possibilities? The strategic plan, therefore, came out of that kind of paradigm, the one UE. 5 campuses, learning the culture, transcending the politics of collaboration. That statement by Dr. Williams, you know, what God has put asunder, let no man put together. we are trying to put it together in functional, practical ways. And when I listened to the deans, I heard a comment about Five Islands coming into agriculture. Five Islands is a product of the one UWI. The reason why Five Islands so far has been ahead of the curve in terms of its performance is because the other 4 campuses embraced it, owned it, and is collaborating with it. That is why it is successful. The paternity looking after the youngest sibling. So those views were very important to us. Then we spent the first half of our time building out the reputation revolution. We said we are going to take the reputation of this university into the cosmos. We're not just a floundering university somewhere in the third world. The Caribbean is one of the richest intellectual cultures on planet Earth, and therefore our university had to reflect the intellectual brilliance of Caribbean people. And so we set out to radically transform the revolution and the reputation, and when we succeeded, we said, let it not be our personal belief in our success. Let us put it out there and let the world decide. And thus we took the decision to take our university into global rankings. Let the world decide who we are. 32,000 universities in the world. Very competitive space, very turbulent space. And we are ranked in the top 3% of the best in the world. It was a phenomenal achievement to do so. Generations of UWI people, shoulders to the wheel, pushing this institution forward. And when I heard the presentations from the deans, of course, I understood why. Because when I travel around the world on UWI business, people would always say, how have you folks been able to build a world-class university in a region that has not had economic growth for 30 years? How have you been able to achieve that? It's the faculty floor. It's the faculty floor. And what the principal has now shown us is that the faculty floor is no longer just the faculty floor. It's now the factory floor, because she's turning her faculties into factories, manufacturing all kinds of things, cocoa, sealants. And I hasten to add, I'm sure there are many other products to be manufactured in those faculties. UWI MADE, yeah, made in UWI. And I believe that this is what the university is now about. So we decided, in our strategic retreat, that having established this reputation, now we have to convert that reputation into revenue. You know, when I was growing up, we were told as poor people, you might be poor, but you don't have to look poor. You know, you carry yourself with a certain kind of, you know, you fool the public. You don't have to look poor because you're poor. So how do we convert this reputation into revenue? And that was a part of our thinking, because we believe that this is the right thinking for this moment in our journey. It is the best possible thinking to take our university forward into this long 21st century at this time. And the evidence also supports the validity of this. At the moment, the governments of our region are contributing 48% of the operational costs of your university. We are a public university. We are a public university. And our governments are contributing 48% of our operational costs. The students, we ask them to make their contribution in the area of fees, and on general, the student fees will contribute about 20% of our operational costs, which will suggest that we have about 38% left behind. So we have to find that. We're not going to sit back and complain and be miserable about it. We took that decision in the strategic cycle that the university will take responsibility for raising that 38% that we need to close this gap. We cannot criticize the governments on this issue, though when I entered UE, the governments were contributing about 90% of our operational costs. And it went 90, 80, 70, 60, and it has now dipped beneath 50. But the point is that that's a relative relationship. It doesn't mean that the governments are contributing less. In fact, the governments are contributing more, but it's a smaller proportion of the overall sum that is required. Because we have grown this university from 15,000 students to 50,000 students, because we had to do it. It's our responsibility to build the HR culture, the human capacity of this region for the purposes specified by the governments themselves. Now, in the early stages, we used to do, Mr. Chairman, we used to do a bit of deficit financing. We would step out of the crease a little, and if we found ourselves stranded down the wicket, the governments will go to Parliament and ask for supplementary to give us, to put us back into good stead. Then 5 years ago, the government says no more deficit financing, you balance your budget. This is now the age of the balanced budget. You live within it, and if you step out of the crease beyond it, you take the responsibility to raise that funds to balance the budget. This is all fine, because we are 76 years old. And at this age, we should have learned a few things about survival, about taking responsibility for yourself and planning for your future. So we have positioned our university, I believe, in the right place. And it required leadership from the bottom up. The presentations, again, by the principal sets out the macroeconomic framework. The deans have shown how it can be done, what must be done. So we have said yes. To meet that objective, we have to become the entrepreneurial university. We have to become the entrepreneurial university. We have to secure our footing, and we have to plan for the future. So yes, we now have on this campus the magnificent work in building out this manufacturing culture within our faculties. And I hasten to add, that is not just the manufacturing of things, of products, of material items. It is also the manufacturing of ideas, because ideas are also products that can be marketed and converted into revenue. Ideas, innovation, products, all part of that ecosystem. And I believe that the St Augustine Campus is leading the way in this direction. And this is very important, I believe. This is a message which is coming from this meeting. I also want to report that this is the moment when we speak of ideas of decolonizing our university. It's not one-dimensional. As we strengthen our financial footing, as we try to balance our budget, as we try to develop the surplus necessary to grow and to expand, we also have to deal with the intellectual and ideological dimensions of this. 2 weeks ago, I attended the heads of governments meeting. And on the agenda was the final decolonization of the UWI. And remember the stages we have gone through. Established in 1948, a college of the University of London. 1962, our first Vice Chancellor said the time has come to leave the colonial scaffold. And so we removed ourselves from the University of London and became an independent Caribbean university. And we continue to move along that trajectory. And last year, we decided that we will decolonize these gowns that we wear in our regalia graduation, those medieval black velvet British gowns that we would robe ourselves in. And then we developed Caribbean gowns to reflect who we are, the colors of our civilizations in the region. The final step was to abolish the monarch of Britain as our ultimate court of appeal. As you know, we had this office called the Visitor. If members of our community did not feel they experienced justice in the internal judicial process, they could appeal the decision to the Visitor, and the Visitor was the monarch of England, which in effect meant the Privy Council. So our students and our staff would be going to the Privy Council for justice. We approached the Buckingham Palace, we approached the Privy Council, and we met with them, and we said the time has come for us to indigenize this judicial process. The conversations were very cordial, very pleasant. In fact, they wondered why we took so long. And so we established the Office of the Visitor. That office is here at St Augustine Campus. Justice Ralston is our court of appeal. And he would allocate the wisdom, and his judgment, of course, is final. The final step now is to remove ourselves from the Royal Charter. At the moment, the University of the West Indies is empowered to issue degrees by royal consent. We have the Royal Charter. It is this Royal Charter that gives us the authority to issue these degrees. The Royal Charter, of course, can be revoked. And if the Royal Charter is revoked, it might not be possible to imagine the circumstance that would lead to a revocation. But if it is revoked, that would be the end of us. Cannot take that risk with our 76-year investment. So we've approached the heads of governments. We had all the consultations with the finest legal minds. We've been receiving, our consultant has been Justice Saunders. And we approached the heads of governments and they said, proceed. We are going to have this university embedded in the Treaty of Chaguaramas. There will be an agreement whereby this university will now be embedded in indigenous legal instruments. And when we have completed that process, then we would have completely decolonized our institution. And yes, we will become a republic. So that has been going on. Also, an important decision that was taken was to demonstrate our global readiness for participating in higher education and putting the UWI product out there in the world. Thus, we established the International School for Development Justice. Now, finding a niche in the global market for your product, finding a niche made in UWI, being made available to the world, opportunities such as this, we cannot allow them to slip, thus agility as part of our pillar in the AAA strategy. This region advocated aggressively for the SDGs. We were among the earliest advocates pushing for the United Nations to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of UWI intellectual thinking went into the advocacy to persuade the world to adopt the SDGs. This is now the second 10th year. And the question was whether or not there should be a second decade for the SDGs. And again, UWI went to work, fighting for another 10 years of the SDGs and persuading global advocacy. I had the privilege of speaking at the General Assembly of the United Nations on 2 occasions with respect to fighting for these SDGs, and we won. So we decided, therefore, that there is a global niche for our brand. We took a decision that we will become the SDG University of the world. We will become the world's leading SDG university. And so we rolled out the International School for Development Justice that will offer online master's programs on all of the SDGs. So what we have now is that we are the only university in the world that has a graduate school dedicated explicitly to the SDGs. Of course, the United Nations fully endorsed the proposition. They gave us access to all of their branding and marketing. They celebrated the fact that a university in the global south is now the leader on SDG advocacy. The United Nations then said to us, okay, and you will now become the university in the world to provide global advocacy around SDG 13, climate change advocacy. But that came after the International Association of Universities voted UWI the lead university in the world on climate change. Because the truth of the matter is that we have had the longest research series on climate change for 50 years. Our colleagues have been talking about rising sea levels, rising sea temperatures, destructions of coral reef, erratic movement of fish. All of this has been a part. We were the first whistleblowers. Then the world caught up and said, okay, thank you, UWI. Now continue to provide the global leadership on this matter. So we are now out there doing this work for the world and being recognized. The IDB came on board and they said to us, if you're building this school, if it's a limited liability company, it's a for-profit company, it will function like any other private sector company, it will have a board of directors, it will have all of these things, we will fund it. The money is in the bank, Mr. Chairman. And we are very appreciative, and we are now getting ready to launch. We've hired the Times Higher Education to provide the global marketing for this product. They have already started, and we are going live with these SDG master's programs in the next couple of months. And I wish to thank, Principal, I wish to thank you and all of your colleagues for the magnificent work that has been done here to convert curriculum into asynchronous delivery. Some very technical, important work. Now UWI is going global because our reputation is out there, and I believe that this augurs very well for the future. The final point I wish to make, colleagues, is that the building out of resilience is absolutely necessary to deal with these shocks that will come. I read the papers this morning and I saw the Prime Minister of the Republic here, Dr. Rowley, making it clear that this country will not be intimidated in respect of the support given it by the Cuban health services. And we're being told that we have to pay a price if we continue to collaborate on a regional basis. I see the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, has said the same thing. Now, this university has been out there providing this leadership. If you go to the University of Havana right now, when you walk into the center square of the University of Havana, you will see a building. And on that building, it says, University of the West Indies. Center for Sustainable Development. There, in Havana, in their university, we built that there, working with the government and people of Cuba. And I was honored to go over there and pull that ribbon to allow the UWI, because the area of natural products, the Cuban people have been isolated from having access to pharmacopoeia and all of the products of healthcare. And therefore, their researchers became experts at identifying the chemical features of the natural environment and developing products to take care of their health. We have to be a part of that process. We have to be a part of that. And so we're there. We're not going to retreat from it because they are our people. We have to stand together and we have to build out, as you say, Chairman, the issue of partnership and collaboration. We have partnerships with some of the finest universities in the world. We are doing joint programs and joint degrees, as you've heard from the deans. We are doing joint programs with universities all over the world. In fact, some of the finest universities in the world are knocking on our door to partner with us because we have built out that reputation as a fine institution. And so we're building those relations not only in the global south, but in the global north. And in the east, we have a Center for Software Engineering in Suzhou, China. And we're out there because the president of China came here to Trinidad and Tobago and signed a treaty for technology transfer here in Port of Spain. So we went to China and knocked on his door and said, we are here to implement this treaty. What do you want? We want a Center for Software Engineering. Done. Done. And we've been there now 7, 8 years, offering the joint degree, 2 years at UWI, 2 years in Suzhou at our center there. So we are global in every sense in the north and the east, and of course, we have built out our leadership in the south. So, Principal, what your report has demonstrated is that the faculties continue to impress upon us what needs to be done to secure our future. You cannot ask for more. You cannot ask for more. Deans, I really want to celebrate you for what you have done today and continue to do. Then there are always the difficult issues. I know the big challenge that had faced this campus in respect of the salary negotiations in recent years. I'm fully aware of the sacrifice that all of you have made. I have no doubt that you are deserving of more than you receive. You have worked for it. You've earned it. And I believe that while we have to be flexible, we have to be understanding and looking at national circumstances, you deserve a little more. And I hope that the next time around, that point will be made. And there's a concept called retroactivity. Yes, and maybe that will be applied the next time around. You have worked hard. I have seen how you have rolled up your sleeve in the pandemic process. When the pandemic was ripping through our communities, you all rolled up your sleeves and you went out there and saved lives. You cannot ask of a university more than to be out there in the community saving lives. And this is what you all did. You did it because it was your duty to so do. I would wish to thank Dr. Indira Rampasad for her leadership of WIGOT. These are difficult things. You are walking through eggshells and you have to be careful. And I wish to thank you for the persistence of your leadership in saying that your colleagues have worked hard and are deserving the justice. It requires courage and resilience to do the right thing. And I'm not sure if Dr. Rampasad is here, but I wish to thank her. Oh, good. I wish to thank you for the work that you did in bringing a measure of justice to your colleagues. In that regard also, I thank the principal for providing a certain kind of caution in how we do negotiate with our principal stakeholders. I remember once in my careful years, the Prime Minister made it clear to me, he was Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, and he says, Principal, I'm giving you 1, 2, and 3. And I said, but my colleagues work so very hard. They deserve a little more than 1, 2, and 3. He says, well, that is what we're giving the civil servants. I cannot create a political crisis, so I'm giving you 1, 2, and 3 because we gave them 1, 2, and 3. And I said, Prime Minister, the UWI people are up and down the Caribbean giving lectures, seminars, marking scripts. They leave UWI and they go through the region and they're doing all of this regional work. They're doing a little more than national work. They're up and down the islands doing all kinds of things for the people. So they certainly deserve a little more because they're not land-bound. And he asked, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, could you give our colleagues something called a regional allowance to respect the regional work that they do every day? And he said, done, Principal, done. So we got 1, 2, and 3. Then we got a lump sum every month for our regional work because the Prime Minister was creative, reflective, and a UWI man to the heart. And these are things that can happen from time to time. Thus, I am looking forward to the retroactivity principle when that time comes. So, Principal, I thank you. Deans, I thank you. And I wish to end by quoting Dean Coburn. Congratulations on your professorship, sir. And I wish to end by quoting you. The future looks bright. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
VC, for that very inspiring and future-looking clear statement of the future. The future is bright. At this point, I want to transition to question and answer segment, during which members of the council and media are invited to ask questions. And I invite the campus registrar, Dr. Dawn Marie Defoe-Gill, to take us through this section.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I first wish to thank our live stream audience for joining the open session of our meeting. In addition to council, there are members of the media here and the general public. The floor is now open to your questions. I ask that you kindly direct questions or comments to the head table, and I will ask our campus principal to lead in the responses. Let me first ask members of council and media present to pose their questions. Denise, I'm going to rely on you to field. Yeah.
Thank you, Registrar. Mr. Sunil Lala of TTT, I know you have a question you'd like to pose.
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon, Campus Principal. Sunil Lala from TTT News. I just had a couple of questions. I know you would have mentioned that I think 200 plus million has been, you've gotten 200 plus million for research. Just wondering if the majority of this was from local investors. And secondly, from me, for that question, you talked about funding the drug research for the, I think this is the antibiotic resistance. How much is needed to actually fund this project?
So the majority of our research funding would be internationally based. We are working hard to persuade local business people because we don't have that culture that they should invest in research. We're really working hard with that. But as of now, most of the research funds would be international. In terms of the antibiotic resistance product, well, you're talking about $1 million, probably $1 billion industry. We're talking about pharmaceuticals and what tends to happen, because it's not the first time UWI has had really wonderful research. Our PhD students who work with us often tend to migrate to the Harvards and the Yales and the Oxfords, and then they get the credit at the end of the day, something we know about. But because they have very strong cultures of big business pharmaceutical companies themselves investing in universities, that's what happens. So we are a long way off from getting a regional, I wouldn't even say local, regional investor, but it is something that we keep talking about. And of course, you can have pools of investors as well. So thank you for asking that question and raising the awareness.
Thank you for the response, Principal. Mr. Lala, you have another?
Yeah, just one more. You talked about enrollment. I know you would have said, I think enrollment would have increased somewhat. Has the university done any analysis to find out why there was that increase? And has enrollment already started for the new academic year, and how is it going so far?
Okay, so we have done analysis as best as we can. And of course, it's a multitude of reasons. You heard some of the deans say some of it, they are doing work, marketing is doing tremendous work. We ourselves, from the principals, and we do, as you saw, the fairs, etc., which help with recruitment, outreach helps, a whole host of things that would help. Also, what would help would be the sort of environment around us. That is also part of it, both positive and negative. Positive in the sense that perhaps some people are not going abroad or can't go abroad, and we might benefit from that. Sounds like a negative win, but it's still a win. And then, so it's a work in progress, but we do believe the really aggressive marketing and outreach and the improvement also in our admissions process, which is now a bit faster. When you do apply, we can grab you faster than before. These things all help. You had two questions, didn't you? You had another one about applications, if it's still open.
Yeah, in terms of the...
Yes, if it's an increase, you asked. Yes,
think-
and we have seen, I mean, it's not in this report because this report ends on July 31st, but we have been reporting an increase generally in enrollment. But bear in mind what I said, though, it's an important point that young people, this generation, they're looking for different kinds of degrees. Apart from the online, they're looking for the quicker type. So we're seeing all of these things. But yes, we have seen a further increase. And applications open until July, so we're still receiving applications.
Just my final two questions, and that's it.
That's 6 in all, but that's all right.
My apologies. Campus principal, you would have mentioned, I think, after school care for children, due to, we just had International Women's Day. Is this a move to empower women somewhat? And my final question, and I'll save the best for last. We just had an interview with the OWT outside, and they talked about communication being an issue from the university, saying that, they haven't gotten constant communication with regards to the issues at hand. Any comment on it? Okay,
so in terms of this university, one of our mantras would be to, we have a very powerful gender, IGDS, Institute of Gender and Development Studies. We're very, very strong. And the one in St Augustine is quite a leader. I'm sure you know Gabby, Dr. Gabby Hussain. So yes, that is also part of our philosophy, and it would also be that child care center is an acknowledgement of that, but it's broader than just women, because we don't believe parenting is about women alone. But it really is just about, as I said, staff engagement, because we recognize what happens, and it has to do with the traffic, the horrendous traffic in the country as well. So you leave, you collect the children. We just want our staff to feel safe and secure and happier. And we don't want them to have to pay to send their child somewhere off campus to hold the children for a couple hours, and then they're worried and all of these things that we've thought about. So this is why we've created a really safe, lovely space. And I should mention too that it would be the Faculty of Humanities, which has had a long-standing childcare unit that will be manning it, would be sort of organizing it for us, although it's a campus initiative. So that would be the reason. I think it's empowering families, empowering staff, not just women. In terms of the communication, well, we have 3 unions on campus, and 3 different persons were looking. I dealt with the WIGAT. The registrar was dealing with the OWT, so I'm going to ask her to speak. And then we've had the EPA, which had settled. The HR director was dealing with that. So, registrar, you may want to mention. I know she spoke with them a while ago. Yeah.
Just to note that they did, what they referred to was the revised remit, the counter proposal that they sent. We did, as soon as we received it, be communicated with the ministry, and we are still awaiting feedback so that we could move forward with discussions. We did agree to meet with them next week, and we are writing the 99A, Richard, to set up the meeting for next week.
Thank you very much, Registrar. Mr. Lala, that was your last question, correct? Lovely, thank you. We now invite Mr. Terrell Gittins, an independent freelance reporter. He has a couple of questions as well.
Hi, good day. Professor, given the current geopolitical developments and the impending trade wars, taking a proactive look at this issue, what efforts is the UWI preparing to help position the institution to assist Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean to navigate the financial uncertainties ahead?
So you said geopolitical and then you said financial. So, I mean, 2 separate things. But I know the Vice Chancellor spoke earlier to some of the geopolitical issues in terms of Cuba. We have others. We have, as you know, the only international relations institute based on this campus. They are the experts in that area. I think you tend to interview them a lot on television. I see them often on television. So we have that can help with that. But in terms of financial, what specifically? Because it's not quite. We don't have, we are one university, as you would have heard, so whatever policies we have in relation to negotiating geopolitical uncertainties, which are great now at this point in time, we would not be unilateral in that approach. We would ensure that whatever we do, we speak with one voice as a university. I think the Cuba issue is fairly straight up. We probably have consensus already without even saying that specifically. Several prime ministers have actually said that already. Rav Gonzalez did as well, by the way, Vice Chancellor. But in general, if you're talking about what's happening with, like, say, Canada and so on, I don't know if there's anything articulated. But what I can say is that we do believe in sovereignty and self-determination of countries, and we will, whatever we do, we will be from a one UWI perspective. I don't know if that's, maybe the Vice Chancellor want to say more about that, but that's where we are for now.
Thank you, Principal. We continue to read these environments the best we can and to prepare ourselves for the possibilities. It was evident to many people that Mr. Trump was going to win this election and there would be a shift in priorities and in directions in his government. So we have been talking to our ambassadors in the US and the United Nations systems to collect as much information as we could. So we have been very busy trying to gather data to help us to shape our responses, because a university should never be caught flat-footed. That would be a contradiction, having a community of intellectuals being caught flat-footed. So that was not going to happen. So The situation with US aid has been particularly impactful. At the moment, the Pro Vice Chancellor for Research is about to submit to me a report that quantifies the measure of exposure. There are many research projects in this university that are funded by USAID. And some of those have been frozen and with immediate impact. And bear in mind what you have heard, is that our university is funded primarily as an undergraduate university. In other words, what the governments provide is principally the funding for an undergraduate school. And therefore, the bulk of the funding for research has to be carried out by the university itself. Okay, so the research grants that are necessary to drive faculty-based research comes primarily from the initiatives of our faculties. And in the last 4 to 5 years, we have raised about $100 million US. We have raised about $100 million US through faculty and other university-based initiatives to drive the research. Now, this is so important to us because our global ranking as a university, our global ranking is based primarily on the research we do, the impact of that research, and the recognition of that research. So our ranking is tied up in our research, and therefore what the faculties are doing are securing those funds to do the research to keep our reputation where it is. So yes, we are suffering some setbacks, but at the same time, let me say this. We understood years ago that we had to diversify the sources of our funding for research. So we pivoted to a large extent towards the European Union. So we have explored European Union funding to drive research. So diversity speaks to funding from European Union sources, yes, North American sources, but the bulk of our North American sources are not government related. Many of the most attractive donor agencies in North America are not government based. For example, small example, you all know that the Vice Chancellor is involved in helping CARICOM to work through this reparatory justice project for the region. So we approached the Open Society Foundation. And the Open Society Foundation gave us $1 million US to promote our advocacy. So when we are doing advocacy around reparatory justice, in the last 2 years, it has been funded by the Open Society Foundation that said, this work is important, here's a grant, get on with it. The climate change people have been receiving funding from many other institutions. So we are watching it very carefully. We are watching it very, very closely. And we have also built out our relationships with Canada. Let me say this to you, colleagues, because you might not be aware of it. 5 years ago, driving diversity, we built up a relationship with Canadian universities. And we created something called the Canada-Caribbean Initiative. The Canada-Caribbean Initiative is based upon UWI working in collaboration with a consortium of Canadian universities, Brock, McMaster's, Toronto, McGill, and a few others. So we have a UWI base consortium of UWI in conjunction with Canadian universities to provide funding for our research, to provide opportunities for our graduate students to have mobility. So we have our feet planted in different global ecosystems so that if there's a problem in one area, it doesn't damage us too considerably. So that has been our strategy. Yes, we've had some negative impact around the USAID project, but on the whole, the North American higher education system, the funding system, and those geographies are still very much with UWI, and we're working even more closely with them. In fact, some of them have said to us, what can we do to fill the void that has been created by the retreat of USAID? Those are the conversations we have. And so, again, the future looks bright.
I'm told we have 3 more questions from online.
That's correct. We would now like to ask Dr. Indira Rampasad, Head of Department of Political Science, to ask her question.
Thank you very much. My question is directed to the Vice Chancellor. We see this has nothing to do with negotiations. It's about a visitor. So the visitor, as in the Royal Charter, it's not in our Blue Book or Corepa documents, was really the Queen. I mean, the matter was not addressed by the Queen. It would go to the Privy Council, or she would direct it to the Privy Council. So the visitor was the Queen in the context that it was a visiting personality. However, we now have a homegrown former Justice of the CCJ, now Senior Counsel, in Justice Ralston Nelson as our visitor. Therefore, the term visitor is an anomaly. We are currently amending and reviewing Ordinance 8 led by our campus principal. We almost completed it, VC, we're happy to hear. And we would want to change that terminology. The nomenclature is no longer appropriate or relevant. So in the interest of reparative justice on our trajectory to decolonization, I think we need to remove that term, visitor, as well, and replace it with something that is more appropriate. Thank you.
Well, we shall await that recommendation. But I can say to you unofficially that I'm sympathetic towards it, because implicit in the concept of the visitor is someone who leaves a jurisdiction, goes to another to interfere and intervene. If it is all indigenous, then one cannot say that the person is visiting. Yes, that becomes a bit of an anomaly. So yes, we shall look forward to that, Dr. Rampasad. And I'm quite sure that Council will nod in approval. Thank you.
Much, VC. Thank you very much. The last questions would be addressed to the campus principal. A person online is asking, based on the information presented, the Global School of Medicine is set to become a powerhouse for training medical doctors. Do you have any idea when this project will be completed, or is there a projected timeline?
Yes, as you know, it's been on the shelf for a while, but the last year and a half, we've really worked very hard to get it off the ground, and I gave you some of the milestones that we've achieved. We are hoping to really start this September 25. That's the goal.
Thank you, CP. And finally, what is the market's response to the university's entrepreneurial efforts? You spoke at length about UWI Fine Cocoa, Seal It, UWI MADE, the umbrella brand. The question being asked is, with all of the various faculty-led efforts that are informing the way in terms of the entrepreneurial initiatives, what really do the profits look like?
Well, it's too early to talk about big profits because it's only in this last year that we've really moved from spin-off company, shelf company into real-life gains. But the projections are quite good. I mean, the cocoa one, the fine cocoa, which is not only the chocolate, but that one is aimed at a luxury market, the international market. So that is something we have sitting on our board, the CRC's board. We have some of the biggest companies like Lint International, they are directors on the board. And as I said, we have different products as well. So the response has been excellent. The reputation is well known, both the CRC plus the cocoa material from Trinidad and Tobago. The cocoa product itself is still the top 3 cocoas in the world, cocoa quality in the world. So that is really excellent response, both from the government, the private sector, everybody's acclaim. So we will see in terms of the actual international sales and regional sales, but we're already selling locally, etc. In terms of Seal It, we have not been able to keep up with the demand once we went out there, and we haven't even gone out there in a big way as yet. We decided to start small because obviously we don't have human or physical resources to have huge factories on campus or even to man them. So at some point we'll have to either sell the company, as the case may be. But there's a lot of interest. We even had offers to come and put it in the, what you call those things, hardware stores, and we've had contracts. We've even had a regional contract already in Antigua. So already great response when we already started to see profits. The others, the sargassum-based plant pesticides, and so those are not yet being sold. We are, except in small quantities in agriculture. But we're at the stage where the Shark Tank I spoke of and what we've put in place, the committee have put in place, we are helping in terms of the business propositions and so on. And there are others where humankind was explained to you, is a different kind, it's service-oriented, there are other faculties service-oriented. So far, and we've been at one big trade show and other trade shows. Whenever we exhibit, we get a lot of acclaim and so on. One of the things I would say though, again, we do not have a culture, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but in the region, we do not have a culture of innovation and research development leading to commercialization. It is not something. We are more retail sector. I'm sure my chair will agree with me. He's a business icon. It has been more retail sector oriented. There are very few business people in Trinidad and Tobago and indeed the region that actually produce and sell. Very, very few. And that is one of the things that we hope to also lead in to try to persuade and encourage the business people who are more into the retail sector to move forward in terms of supporting research and development. But there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of applause, but it may well be that if we had to go really big, that we may have to get investors outside of the region.
Thank you very much, Campus Principal, for such an in-depth response.
VC would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Chair. Understand not only where we are, but what we are seeking to do. We are seeking to convert our university into an entrepreneurial enterprise after 7 decades of being a public service institution. Effectively, we are in pursuit of a minimum of $50 million per year. That's the gap that we're trying to bridge. Now, understand how our funding model works. Each year, the governments of the region would review the budgets of the university. And they would conclude, after 2 days of very detailed scrutiny, that the budget presented for the next 2 years is fair, it's reasonable, it is without waste and repetition, but it is what is needed to manage the university in the next 2 years. So we sign off on that. That becomes the budget. Then, because of the constraints within the national economies, the governments would say, we have approved $10, but we can only give you $7. So the budget of $10 is approved, but the contribution from all the governments would add up to $7, which means, of course, that we now have to find the 3. So to find the 3, we need to generate through our own activities at least $50 million a year. So each campus is asked to take your share of that 50 million. Principal, I think your share is 17? Good. So St Augustine is asked that your share of that 50 million, eh? Yes. St Augustine, your share of that 50 we are trying to raise is 17. Other campuses, it's a formula based on various ratios. So this is what we're going after. We're trying to achieve this. And each campus has a number of projects. For example, the Cayfield campus have just launched a vehicle fueled by oil derived from sargassum. And it's wonderful to see this car driving around Barbados on sargassum oil. And that came out of the faculty. So they're now looking to find a way to commercialize this. In addition, the Faculty of Medicine, the Center for Chronic Disease Research have now come up with these diabetic drinks based on local products, local flavors, and they have signed a contract with one of the world's largest drink manufacturers. And those products that will compete with Glucerna, as you all know them, the diabetic shakes, the non-sugar, low-sugar products to help people managing their glucose, that is going to go global. And I have no doubt it's going to be a very profitable enterprise. So all the campuses are being extremely entrepreneurial and coming up with these projects. So the shift of the mental construct has already happened. The turnaround in the approach that we don't just teach and go home. We don't just teach, go into our silo and do our research. But no, we are in now to the market economy as a way to secure our financial future. So yes, it's like turning a cruise ship around in a harbor. It's a slow process, but inevitably it will get out to sea. So this is where we are in these formative stages of a new strategy and vision for UWI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal as well. At this point, we've come to the end of our question and answer segment, and we wish to thank all of our participants for their contributions. And we particularly want to thank members of the media for their presence here and their continued partnership in helping us share this important dialogue. At this time, I now hand over to the campus registrar, who will continue today's proceedings.
Thank you. We've come to the end of the open session. Members of council, please be advised that we would break for lunch and we would reconvene for the closed session in 45 minutes.